This is Mr. Tomachko's screencast for the Motion project. I'm going to go over the editing instructions for Motion. You're going to need two things. You're going to need a motion picture. In this case, this is panning. And you're going to need a blank document. So let's start out with the motion picture. Set your crop tool to 7 by 5 by 180 pixels per inch and crop your picture however you wish. If your picture needs to be edited for levels or curves or saturation, do that now. You can also, if you wish, make your photo black and white. Control U for saturation. Okay, so we are done editing our picture, and now we're going to make a new document. So we go to File, New, and the document we're going to make is, I don't know what any of this stuff is. Preset film video, we want it for custom, and the width is going to be 10. The height is going to be 8, and the resolution is going to be 180 pixels per inch. Your settings should be on their default, where it's RGB color, 8 bits, and the background contents are white. And click OK. That'll make a new blank document. That's just a white document. That's 8 inches high by 10 inches wide. And I'm going to put my motion picture off to the side because I don't quite need that yet. But I want to change the color of my document. So I'm going to go over to the Paint Bucket tool. And if you right click on the Paint Bucket tool, you'll see that there are two types of tools there. One's a paint bucket, one is a gradient tool. Choose the gradient tool, and then make sure the setting of the gradient tool is on the very first one, which is the linear gradient. Set your default colors to black in the foreground, white in the background, and then draw a line. And when you draw that line, depending on how long you draw it, and where you draw it, and what angle you draw it, it'll make the document fade from black, which is my foreground color, to white, which is my background color. So to draw a straight line, hold down Shift, draw your line, and you want to try to get your background to fade from black to white over a long area. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to select my Move tool, and I'm going to drag and drop my photo, my motion picture, onto this document. And you'll see it's already sized to be smaller than the 8 by 10 because we deliberately size it to be 5 by 7, so it fits in the space pretty nicely. And you want to center it left to right, but you want to put it a little bit higher than the middle. You want to have a little extra space in the bottom. Minimize that. We don't need it anymore. So now I have two layers. I have my background layer, which is my gradient, and then I have my foreground layer, which is my photograph, which is kind of centered and toward the top. You're going to select your text tool, and you want to use a font called Arial Black, and it should be set to white. Click once, and you're going to type your name. And then on a separate text box, click once, and identify the kind of photograph it is. In this case, it's a panning photograph. And I'm going to use my Move tool to line up my panning, center it on the photograph, and then select my name and line my name up on the photograph centered as well. And my name and the word panning are way too small, so Control T will allow me to resize my name. Remember, hold down Shift while you resize so you don't change the aspect ratio of your text. And that looks about the right size. Center that. Move it up just a little bit. And then select the word panning. We'll make this a little bit larger as well, but it does not need to be as large as my name. Okay, center that. Good. Just use my arrow keys to nudge it in place to get it where I want it. And I'm going to take these 3 layers and I'm going to select them all by holding down Shift and clicking on the bottom layer. So all 3 layers are highlighted blue, and I'm going to right click and merge these layers together. Or you could even do it through the layer menu. Go Layer, Merge Layers. And those 3 layers become one layer. So now you'll see if I want to move them, they all move together. Put that back where it was. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate this layer. And I could do it by right-clicking on the layer and going to Duplicate Layer. Or my hotkey is Control-J, which makes a second copy of the layer. Now let me just zoom out here. Control- zooms out, so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to Control-T to free transform my picture. I'm going to grab the transformation box in the middle. I'm going to pull it straight down and flip my picture upside down. And then even stretch it a little bit so it's a little bit longer than your picture. Accept my changes and then use my nudge key to move this picture down just a little bit. You should want to create a little separation between the 2 pictures. So now this picture is the start of what's going to be a reflection. In order to make it look like a reflection, you have to lower the opacity. So we're going to lower it down to about 35%. You don't have to be exact, but somewhere around there. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to take this layer, make a layer mask, select our gradient tool again, and we're going to fade from black to white just so it looks a little more natural, like a reflection. Okay, so now we have our name, the type of motion it is, in this case panning, our photograph on a background, and the photograph is reflecting onto the background. And once you're finished, you can save your project. Save it as last name, first name, motion 1. And you're done.